Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and of course, welcome uh, to this special broadcast. And thank you for sharing your day with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we decided to do a special midday broadcast, of course, because we saw that our government, of course, we saw that our government has decided to to table a bill that the Bahamian people know nothing about. And this, of course, is very, very concerning to us. Ladies and gentlemen, this bill is dangerous to the Bahamian people, and we have to stand up. First, I'm going to let you hear from government officials responding to our response. And then we're going to dive deep into this bill. I'm going to respond to Ryan Pinner and the Defense Force, Commodore, and then we're going to speak to you. We're going to go through this bill, let you see it for yourself, because many people have not read this bill. But ladies and gentlemen, if this bill is allowed to go forward, the country will be in dangerous problems. This bill is serious. This bill is diabolical. And we're going to let you see for yourself. And so, ladies and gentlemen, listen first to their responses, and then you be the judge. As simple as that. You be the judge.
The immigration deported 105 New Providence to Cape Haitian. This was the single largest deportation exercise carried out in 2025. These were people convicted of immigration offenses: illegal landing, overstaying, possession of fraudulent documents, knowingly attempting to mislead an immigration officer. They face fines from $300 to $3,000. They face prison sentences from 3 months to 1 year. After serving these sentences or paying their fines, they were handed over to immigration for deportation. This is how our system works today. Officers enforce the Immigration Act. People who break our laws face the court. Those who are here illegally are removed. Today I want to explain the next step. We are adding a new layer of enforcement on top of the Immigration Act. The government of the Bahamas has brought to Parliament the Smuggling of Migrants Bill. For the first time in our history, this bill creates a clear crime for migrant smuggling. In Bahamian law, right now, prosecutors have to piece together charges from the Penal Code, custom and immigration laws. That approach misses many of the tricks and methods used by organized smuggling networks. This bill closed that gap. It gave prosecutors and law enforcement a sharp, modern tool to go after the people who organize, finance, and profit from illegal migration. Under the bill, if you smuggle migrants, you face serious penalties. On summary conviction, you can be fined up to $100,000 or jail up to 7 years, or both. On conviction of information, you can be fined up to $200,000 or jail up to 10 years, or both. If your conduct is aggravated, if you endanger life, if you abuse or exploit people, if you are a repeat offender, then the penalties increase even further. On conviction of information, you can be fined up to $300,000 or jail up to 15 years, or both. If you own a boat, the aircraft, or the vehicle used in smuggling, it can be seized or forfeited. The court can also fine you up to $3,000 for every migrant you smuggle. So let me be clear. This bill is aimed at smugglers, the bosses, the organizers, the people who take money to move humans like cargo. The intent of this bill is simple. We will punish the smugglers, not the people who are smuggled, while keeping the Immigration Act and the Penal Code fully enforced. Those who are smuggled will still be charged for illegal entry, for illegal landing, overstaying, and for fake documents. But they are not charged for the act of being smuggled itself, as internationally they are viewed as victims of these crimes. However, let me be clear, they will be deported. Illegal entry remains illegal. Overstaying remains illegal. The Immigration Act is in full force. Immigration officers will still detain, process, and remove people who breach our laws. In some cases, people come to the Bahamas on a legal visa. They land at our airport, pass through our border, and then link up with smugglers to move on to the United States. Those crimes are planned, arranged, and funded in our jurisdiction. This bill gives us stronger power to deal with that, to charge the recruiters, the transporters, the people who provide fake documents and safe houses. We will continue to work with our partners in the United States and the Trump administration to combat the smuggling in this region. We already work closely with our international partners and U.S. agencies at sea and in air. This new law will make that cooperation even more effective. There has been a lot of concerns and misinformation about this bill. Some people say it makes illegal entry legal. That is false. Some people say it gives status or citizenship. That too is false. What this bill really does is simple. It keeps our Immigration Act in place, it keeps deportation in place, and it adds a tougher new crime of migrant smuggling on top, with heavy fines, long prison terms, and the power to take away the assets used to commit the crime. We are sending a clear message to the smugglers, to the organizers, to the people thinking about using the Bahamas as a transit point. If you use our islands to run this crime trade, that you will face the full strength of the Bahamian law. Thank you.
Arrest them for seeking to smuggle these people to the U.S.
Meantime, the Minister of National Security, he gave Wayne Monroe firing back. He's blasting the coalition of independence leader Lincoln Bain and its supporters over their grievances with the proposed legislation, insisting that the protesters are simply perpetuating misinformation because of their lack of understanding.
It doesn't repeal any provision of the Immigration Act, none whatsoever. When it says that you have to observe the human rights of migrants, we already have to do that. When it says that they have a right to contact their consular officials, that's already the case. If an American is arrested, they have a right to talk to the U.S. Embassy. If Jamaican, Jamaican High Commissioner, Canadian, so on and so forth. None of that is new. No. The only thing that is new is we can now get you if you are smuggling people where we can't get you now. It's a problem now between us and the U.S. where these people are consolidated, and you've reported on it in Grand Bahama and Bimini and Abaco and smuggled to the U.S. Well, now if we catch them in our waters, we can't do anything to them because they haven't broken our law. But if they're transiting to the U.S., we can live up to our international obligations and arrest them for seeking to smuggle these people to the U.S. If we don't do this, I can guarantee you it'll only be a matter of time before the U.S. gets fed up with us.
Meantime, the Minister of National Security, Wayne Monroe,
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for sitting through that. First of all, I want to say that this particular law is dangerous, but the response by our government officials is even more dangerous. Firstly, why should government officials be offended at Bahamians questioning a bill? It is the purpose of bringing it to the Bahamian people. But in fact, where it is normally the practice to consult with the people, before you table a bill. That did not happen in this case. This bill seems to uh, be a bill that they saw the necessity to sneak it through. And that's a problem. And that causes suspicion because we don't have a Freedom of Information Act and we don't have a government that is clearly transparent. They seem to be sneaking this bill through. They put it through, I'm told, with a consortium of bills on October 15th. There was no consultation with the Bahamian public. We were not given proper notice of it. It was just put through, tabled, ladies and gentlemen, without us knowing. A bill like this, of course, they know would be very controversial, so they should have informed the Bahamian people of their intentions and even educated us about the truth about this bill, but they chose not to do it, hoping that it would just slip through while we were all busy campaigning for the next by election. But of course, we caught on. The COI is vigilant, and we are keeping our eyes on the government. We heard nothing when this bill was tabled from the government or the opposition, and we still hear nothing from the opposition on this. This is serious, and we must do something. And so the first response of them was almost to deny and then to come and say that that the COI was being malicious. They started calling us names and saying that we should be condemned. The Attorney General of the country said that I, Lincoln Bain, should be condemned for putting the bill out and not putting the full clause out, which is what we did. We put the full clause out and let you know what the clause is so you can go and look for yourself. And we encourage everyone to look for ourselves. But instead, the Attorney General of this country condemned us for bringing this to the attention of the Bahamian people, for sounding the alarm, which is normally the stance of this government to condemn whistleblowers, to condemn persons who are putting things forward. I think their real problem is that we actually told the people what they were up to. And that's their problem. They had immediately started to attack and condemn. Wayne Monroe even went on to, in my opinion, lie, because Wayne Monroe started to say that he confirmed that what we said, that all of the things in this bill is already in the law. Persons can be prosecuted for everything already that is in the law. There's no need for any of this bill. He said that there's even practices outside of that that's happening right now. He said the only difference is when people are being smuggled out of the country, that we don't have the power to arrest them because they're being smuggled out of the country. Did you hear that? That is not correct. I can give you instances of persons who are smugglers who were arrested smuggling persons out of this country. It has been done over and repeatedly. There's law, the law states that if you are aiding and abetting or smuggling persons into this country, you can be arrested. Or if you are smuggling persons out of this country, you can be arrested. That is already in the Immigration Act. And so for a KC, who is the Minister of National Security, to not know that or to feign not knowing it is dangerous. He knows the law. And so we are perturbed by their responses. But what we are most perturbed about, more than anything else, is the fact that they're ignoring in all of their statements the main part that we have a problem with. Of course, we have a problem with the fact that they are granting immunity, and we're going to get to that. And I'm going to read the law with you and break this whole thing down for you, which is what they don't do. The fact that this bill is an asylum bill. Now, they make fun of us because they're saying that the bill is not called the asylum bill. That is not the official name of it. People nickname laws all the time in every country. In fact, the PLP had a bill for spying on persons, and they nicknamed it the spy bill. That was not the name of the bill, but every time it was referred to in the media, they called it the spy bill because the purpose of that was to let you know the purpose of this bill. It was the spy bill. Do you remember that? That was not the official name. And so this bill is the asylum bill. And that's because, based on our calculations, which we have a right to do, our calculation is that everything else in this bill is already doable in the law right now. The only thing they did was increase some fines and a little bit more jail time. And so you could have done that in the immigration. act, but you chose not to do it. So that means that the purpose of the bill is something else. And the bill says its purpose. And we're going to show you the purpose of this bill. But the purpose of this bill definitely is the thing that they keep not talking about. None of them want to touch that part of it, which is asylum. And I'm going to show you how this is the asylum bill. They are playing with fancy words to trick you. Now, the attorney general seemed to change his tone, and now they're saying there are parts of it that they're going to clarify. They're going to do some things to clarify certain things. So instead of us insulting us, they should have just read the bill and say that from the break. They look back at it, but they didn't do that. They started by insulting us. Now they're saying that they're going to clarify certain things. I think that's after persons in their own party told them that there's a problem with this bill and it's not going to go through. People are not going to accept it. And so they decided that they were going to now tweak and make some changes. And now they're not being insulting. And now they're saying that the people have a right to ask questions. Yes, we have a right to ask questions, and we will always keep the government's foot to the fire. We are an official opposition in this country, and that is our job. So their first attack was to make it seem like we were doing something malicious, but shouldn't their first thing to say is that we misunderstood? Instead of saying we misunderstood, they chose to attack us by making it seem like we were being malicious, that we were misinforming the public, when it's them who was misinforming the public. But guess what? As always, the COI and Lincoln Bain turns out to be right. And now they're saying they're going to have to change those laws in order for there to be clarity. So obviously, we were right, and we're still right, but we don't trust their clarity. It's like when Perry Christie said that he was gonna change the name of Carnival to Junkanoo Carnival so it could be Bahamian, and we just accepted that. When they say they're gonna twerk something in the law, when they were bringing those four questions in the referendum, we told them that all three of those questions can already be done in law. You don't need a referendum for them. But it was only that fourth one that they were doing to try to deceive the people to bring these homosexual agenda into place with gay marriage. And they said they were going to tweak it and change a word. After we arm wrestled with them, we meaning the Bahamian public, arm wrestled with them, they said they were going to tweak it and change some words to make it clearer. But the Bahamian people rejected them. And I want to say to the Bahamian people on this bill, and we're hearing that they may try to sneak it in the 3 o'clock session today, or they're going to push this for Monday. They are not listening to you. The same way they didn't listen when we voted against the numbers racket, they are not listening. And so whenever you see them not listening, there's something else going on behind the scenes. And that's what you must look out for. Why would they put this law in knowing that there's objection to it? There was a poll done in Eyewitness News, and I think it was about 80% of the person saying, well, more than 80%, but only 2% of the person said that this law should go forward. 2% said that this law should go forward, that is. 6% said they need more information, and the rest said this law is a no-go. And so we got to educate our people. And so, ladies and gentlemen, let's dive into this act. Is what responsible persons should do, is what the government should have done. What they're doing is just giving you information. They went on TV last night on a show that is a show of a PLP candidate, Sebastian, to try to justify this law and push their agenda. We want you to be careful of these shows now and look at who is running them, who owns them, and the people that they are pushing to push their message. Anything that is their message, they're going to push forward to you. Don't fall for those old tricks. We have to wise up as a Bahamian people. They brought people on there to push their agenda, but didn't actually quote any of the act. They just told you the act says this, the act says this, the act doesn't say this, and these people are vicious and they have political agendas. We don't have a political agenda. Our only agenda is that we are Bahamians who have to live in this country and we have to defend this country. And that is our agenda. We do not want a country that could possibly be overridden with other persons. A country who can be overwhelmed, our infrastructure and everything else can be overwhelmed because you are now putting a bill in that would equate letting people come into this country And all they have to say is asylum, and you let them in. So, firstly, I want to address something that the minister said when asked about the asylum part of it. He said that there's already asylum being done in this country. That is correct. Persons are considered for asylum in this country. They've been doing that for quite some time. He is correct. They do consider asylum. But they have a whole department called the Refugee Unit that deals with asylum in this country, but there's no law empowering them to do so. So he just admitted that we have a whole unit and a whole practice to do something that there is no law that allows it. That's what the Attorney General just said on that press conference, and no one asked him about that. What law empowers you to give asylum right now? Which part of the act says that you can give asylum? No part of the act says that. And no one in the media questioned him about that. The problem is, right now, they're doing asylum on a case by case basis. That's what they're doing. But this act would give them a right to asylum. That if they seek asylum, the principle of non refoulement comes into play. And you cannot reject them if their country is in that state. So, right now, as it states, they are giving asylum unlawfully, in my opinion, because there's no act empowering them to do so. But nonetheless, they are doing it. But it's a case by case. The difference is this law, which is based on the principle of refoulement, means that legally you will not be able to send them back to their homes if certain conditions apply in their home. That is the difference. That's what this whole thing is about. It is about the asylum part of it. And so let's wake up. Let's dive just to make sure that you would have had a chance to see exactly what is going on. All right. And so let's dive into this. I'm going to show you the act and we're going to go through this act. They are fooling you. Okay. There's a couple things that they said. One of the interesting things that they said is that they have to patch together laws. That's how the law works. There's laws in different areas, and you take whatever law you need and put it together. You don't need to take every law and put them together in one. But we have an Immigration Act that deals with all of these laws already. And this is what they are trying to fool you with. They don't have to have these laws. Once the law exists, that's all they need, and they can amend it as needed. And that's where they're trying to fool you. All right. And so that talk about the laws being patched together and needing one set of laws, all of that is nonsense. It is not the truth. And Bahamian people, we have to wake up and not let them fool us. Okay? Every single law. And if you need me, I'm actually going to open up the phone lines when I'm finished. So this, you can ask questions, but I can show you every single law that they're putting in that they say is necessary already exists in the law. So there's no need for it. It is the refoulement part, the asylum part, which is the danger. So let me pull this law up for you so that we can go through this law. Let's scroll through this law as a Bahamian people. This is what you should do. We are not of the opinion that you should ever listen to anything that we have to say. And that's why we always quote the laws and we always show you the laws. They tell you just believe them. They come in their good suits and ties and they speak the Queen's English and they say, just believe us. Don't listen to these people. These people are bad. Believe us who is trying to sneak this bill in there. That's what they're telling you. Never do that. Never believe anything we say or what they say. Always read for yourselves. And if you're going to believe someone, believe the persons who are showing you the law, not who are telling you what it really means. And so we're going to pull up this act and we're going to browse through this act so that you can see and you can get a better understanding. It's time to see with your own eyes. Now, this is more important than anything that you are doing right now because they are trying to open up the floodgates and destroy this country at a time when on February 3rd, persons are going to be removed from America. Persons of Haitian descent are going to be removed from America. That is dangerous. Where do you think they're going to go? All they have to do is come and say, asylum, and we're stuck. With the law now, they would do it on a case by case basis. And so they would have to, on a case by case basis, go through all of those 500,000 or so people that are going to be removed from America if they decide to come here. But when they put this act into place, those persons would have a right, a right, a right, not case by case, a right to be able to stay and to not be removed. That is what they are hiding from you, Bahamian people, in this act. And so let's go to the act ourselves. I want you to see this for yourself. Again, you don't have to believe me, but this is the act, and this is their act. So let's look at it. This is the Smuggling of Immigrants Bill 2025, also known as the Asylum Bill. That is what it is. We're going to show you. Let's dive into this bill, and you can make a decision for yourself what you think this is. And so here we go. Under offenses, under offenses, you can see they have smuggling of migrants, organizing, directing, and abetting, all of these stuff. Number 11 talks about immunity of prosecution of smuggled migrants. Okay? Immunity from prosecution. We're going to go into that. All right? But let's continue to go through this. Let's continue to go through it. We'll go from the start. Bill for an act to strengthen the border, etc. All right? Now, it gives definitions in this act, and I'm going to go straight to a particular definition, non-refoulement. And this is how you read the law, non-refoulement. All right? Non-refoulement is the actual pronunciation. It's a French word, non-refoulement. All right? And it means the prohibition against returning a migrant to countries where the immigrant's life or freedom would be threatened on account of all of these qualifications. And it points you to this particular convention. And so, because it has to be in accordance with 1953 convention related to status of refugees. So what does that mean? That means this law has to line up with the 1957, although they misquoted. And so this is the first mistake they made in here because it's not the 1957 act. They made a mistake here. It's 1951, which was edited in 1967. All right. And so they started off wrong. So those persons who say that we're malicious, I guess they won't accept our advice because I don't think this is a typo. I think this, I don't know what this is because they should know how to go and do some research. But so what we're going to do in the end is we're going to look at this act because our act says that it has to be in accordance with this convention. And you're going to see what that convention says. That's where you get most of it from. So what that does is it tells you this act must be in accordance with that. All right. And that makes it law. And if and so they don't have to outline in our act everything that's in that act because they've already pointed it to you. All right, by saying that whatever is there must be here. So, for example, our treason law, which is in penal code, it doesn't tell you what treason is. It just tells you that treason is whatever it is in the law of England. So, whatever the law in England says treason is, United Kingdom, sorry, that is what treason is. And so they don't have to outline treason in our penal code. Just go and search for yourself. But all they do is point to it. And then whatever treason is in the law in England, that's what it is. So it doesn't have to be written in our law. And so we would never see it unless we go and research over there. You see? So that's what this is doing. The next principle of refoulement is the migrant would risk of torture, and there's typos in this also that the Attorney General put forward. The migrant would risk of torture. That's not even English. And this is what our Attorney General is putting forward. Would risk of torture, inhumane and degrading treatment, or other forms of irreparable harm. All right? Any harm. All right? So if the person might suffer if they go back to, if they, for example, this is example, we're not picking on Haiti, but for example, if you send them back to Haiti, if they could possibly be tortured, is that what the gangs are doing there now? If they could suffer inhumane treatment, gangs are raping and robbing and torturing people and tying them up and burning them. Inhumane and degrading treatment and other forms of irreparable harm. Okay. So, based on this, if a person comes from Haiti and you try to send them back, it would be breaking the law because of the conditions in Haiti right now. If their life or freedom would be threatened, remember, people are being kidnapped in Port au Prince, so it's difficult for you to send them back to where they're from. So, because this goes along with the conditions in reality, is what you have to worry about. Or the migrant would risk enforced disappearance. All right? There are people being kidnapped. So, all of this is being lined up with the conditions in Haiti. All right? That's the principle of non refoulement. And I'm going to show you where this act is set up to line up with that principle. All right? And so let's keep going. I don't want them to trick you with fancy words. There's a way that you structure the drafting of bills. And what they do sometimes is they just keep referring to something else. They'll refer you to an act, and the time is they refer you to so much different other acts. You're not going to go and read those other ones. They'll say subject to this, subject to that. Um, you will be confused and not really know what it is saying because you have to read those other acts and put them together. And so that's how they trick you and put things in legalese. All right. This is written in a way for you not to understand. That is the other suspicious thing about this law. All right. It's written for you not to understand by going to these principles of these with these big words and referring it to other conventions that they know you may not even know how to find it. But we found it for you, and we're going to read it for you. Now, they after showing you those definitions, they told you the application of the act. The application of the act says what the how the act must be applied in the real world, how it must be dealt with, what this act is about. It is the function of the act. All right? That's what it's about. This act shall be interpreted and applied in a way that A is not discriminatory and upholds the protections and fundamental rights and freedoms of the individual under the Constitution of the Bahamas. All right. So the first thing they're talking about is rights. All right. So is this really about the smugglers? Yeah, the smugglers have rights, but that means that's not the focus of this act itself. Yes, something is in there about the smugglers, but this act seems to be more about the smuggled. All right, focus. It starts talking about discriminatory treatment, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so let's continue. Next, this act shall be interpreted and applied in a way that is consistent with the principles of non-refoulement. That is what this act is about. Do you see that with your own eyes? Do you need a politician to interpret that for you, whether it's COI or anyone else? I'm sorry. I'm just realizing that you can't see this perfectly clearly. Let me see if, because I want you to see all of these words. Let me see if I can adjust that for you. Hold one sec. Make one screen smaller and the other bigger. I'm sorry about that. See how we can do that. Because you can't see all the words. All right, let me just stop sharing for a sec. And give it a change up there. All right, and then I'm going to share it again. I'm so sorry about that. I couldn't see it, and I couldn't see your comments. We're going to delve back into it. All right. I'm sorry about that. We're going to get it up for you right now. Here we go. Now, let me come back and make sure that you can see it. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so that should be a little bit better. Yeah, that should be a little bit better. Let me see. Okay. And if you turn on your phone, and we are broadcasting live everywhere. We are on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. We're broadcasting everywhere. So the number of people you see watching on your screen is just reflective of the people who are watching there with you. But we are broadcasting all over right now. Okay. So you can go to YouTube and you can get a clearer picture, etc. If you want to stay on Facebook. Um, I should be able to make this a little bit better for you. No, that's it. All right. So I'll leave it like that for now. If that's satisfactory, you should be able to see it a little better. No, I think I want to make it a little bit bigger for you. I want you to see this real good because this is how politicians trick you. We're not a cult. The PLP and FNM are cults. They want you to just believe them. Whatever they say, just treat it like facts and the truth, and don't question them. Whatever your party is doing, they want you to just follow it. And so that's what we want to change. We want an educated populace, and so that's what we're gonna do. Okay, you can see it much better like this. So I put myself on the small screen and made it bigger for you, so that we can so that we can get this done. All right. So that's perfect. All right, much better for you. All right. So Bahamians, this is your duty now. This is your duty. I'll try to watch your comments a little bit while we're doing this. I'm multitasking. All right. So this law, this act, this is the application of the act. So don't mind them telling you what the act is for and all this kind of stuff. This must be in consistent with the principle of non-refoulement. Okay? And you can find that in the convention that I listed earlier. The 1967, they put 57, but the 1967 convention. I'm going to read that for you. This is what this act is all about. All right? Don't be deceived by anything else. All right. Next, they said that, remember, this act shall be interpreted and applied in a way that, let's read C, accounts for the special needs of smuggled migrants, in particular, women and children and other migrants with special needs. This act shall apply to all forms of smuggling and migrants, whether the smuggling of the migrants relates to an organized crime group or not. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is not this act is more about the smuggled than smuggling itself. Read that for yourself. And it must be consistent with the principle of non-refoulement. What does non-refoulement mean? You cannot send them back home. That's the purpose of this act. See, that's it. All right? That's the purpose of this act. So don't let them fool you with their fancy talk and telling you what they say this act means or doesn't mean. That is the purpose of this act. And as we go through this act, all right, they start off, and that's what they always do. They start off with what you would want to see. Oh, smuggling of migrants and et cetera, et cetera. This is already against the law. All right. I can give you scores of incidents where smugglers have been arrested and can be arrested right now. There's nothing different they are doing. All right. Nothing they are adding to the law. All right. And so when you go through this, yes, they're saying you shouldn't have false document, all that kind of stuff, but they are making special privileges for number 11, immunity of prosecution of smuggled migrants. All right? Without prejudice to the applicability of any other law establishing a criminal a offense, or I think they meant establishing a criminal offense, because I don't understand who wrote this. This Ryan Pindler. This is when you have an unqualified attorney general. There's typos all through this. All right. Establishing, I assume it means a criminal offense, even though he put criminal a offense. A smuggled migrant shall not be liable to criminal prosecution under this act. Listen to what this says, all right? It didn't say they will not be charged as a smuggler or for the offense of smuggling, all right? It says a smuggled migrant, once you're smuggled, shall not be liable to criminal prosecution under this act in respect of A, illegal entry into the receiving country or transit country. Nothing to do with smuggling. B, remaining illegally in the receiving country or transit country. C, possessing a fraudulent travel or identity document. This doesn't say will not be liable to prosecution for the crime of smuggling. This doesn't clear them of that. This doesn't clear them of what your government authorities is saying it clears them of. It's saying, oh, we have to make sure they're not charged with smuggling. So that's what we're giving them the immunity, so that we only charge the smuggler and they're not charged with the offense of smuggling. Let me make this clear. Nowhere in the world, if someone is kidnapped, that they would be charged for the offense of kidnapping. Nowhere in the world, if someone was taken outside of their permission somewhere else, would they be held at fault? In law, there must be two things, actus reus and mens rea. That means the guilty act and the guilty mind. You must have intended to do what you did and you must have done it. That's the law. So you cannot charge someone a victim. There's never been an instance in world history where a woman was kidnapped and trafficked for sexual offenses and she was charged with an offense because of that. It does not happen. There is no need to put a law to say that if a woman was kidnapped for sex trafficking, that she is guilty if she is forced to do something. They are playing with you. They are playing with your intelligence. There's no need for a law to clear someone if they are a victim of being smuggled or being trafficked because it's not smuggled. They're playing with the fact that trafficking is different from smuggling. This law does not deal with trafficking. The only purpose for this law, and Latre started to say it, he said they want to comply with international laws. He went back and forth. First, he said they're going to still be charged and they can't be charged because of international law. He went back and forth and said both things. I can play it again for you. They are playing with your intelligence and then insulting anyone who tries to tell you the truth. Read this for yourself. There is no need to make them immune because obviously they weren't smuggling. The next problem is that the bigger problem is that when those Haitian sloops, for example, come in, you don't know who the captain is. You don't know who the smuggler is. They blend in. And all of them go together. No one talks. Everyone shuts their mouth. They don't know who the smuggler is. So you need a whole law to identify, to separate those persons from the smuggler, but you don't know who the smuggler is? It's a lie, Bahamas. What they are trying to do is decriminalize illegal immigration, illegally entering the country. They say that the other laws will remain. That's what they say. That's what they tell you. That there's still the Immigration Act, and the Immigration Act says that they could be charged with illegal entry into a receiving country. How could they be charged with illegal entry if this law gives them immunity? If the Immigration Act says that they could be charged with illegal entry, this law says that they can't be charged with illegal entry. Do you see how they are playing with you? You have a choice to listen to them or to not listen to them. That's on you. But what I'm doing is showing you what the actual law says. So I'm going to skip from here, all right? And I'm going to go straight to 35 and then we're going to come back. So you can understand what's really going on. So this law says that you cannot be, they cannot be prosecuted. And then your politician said to you, oh, but the other laws still remain. They can still be charged and they can still be prosecuted, put before the courts, et cetera, et cetera. That's what they told you. But here's the truth. In this act, it talks about the prevailing law. And it says, this is section 35 for those who are paying attention, who don't just want to listen to what the politicians have to say. All right? So, prevailing law. The provisions of this act shall be in addition to and not in derogation of the provisions of other written law regulating the smuggling of migrants. So, obviously, there are other laws. Two, in the event of a conflict or inconsistency between the provisions of this act and those of other written laws, the provision of this act shall prevail, and the conflicting or inconsistent provision of the other written laws shall, to the extent of the conflict or inconsistency, be deemed to be superseded. Ladies and gentlemen, this is telling you that this law tells you you cannot charge a person who is smuggled into the country for landing illegally, for remaining in the country, or for possessing fraudulent documents. Any law that exists now that says otherwise is null and void to that extent. It's written right here. This law supersedes it. They are playing with you, Bahamas. They are lying to you. Do not listen to them. Do not trust them. They have a hidden dark agenda. This tells you, don't listen to them saying that, oh, but other law is still intact. It was not, of course, they didn't repeal it. They don't have to. They just put in this law where this law supersedes the other law. That's another trick in law to not have to repeal another law because you would be suspicious if they just repealed it. They save time by just going in here and saying, hey, if there's any conflict, this law supersedes. So this law, we'll go back to 11. It's clear as day. Says it. It says, without prejudice to the applicability of any other law establishing a criminal offense, etc., a smuggled migrant shall not be liable to criminal prosecution under this act in respect of illegal entry, remaining illegally, or possession of fraudulent travel identity documents. All right? So that's what it says. And it goes on to say where the act is a direct consequence of the smuggling of the migrant alleged to have been committed. All right? And so all that means is once they can show that you were smuggled in, you will not be charged. If you were smuggled in, if the smuggling was a direct consequence of how you got here illegally, remained here illegally, etc., they're not going to be able to charge you. This doesn't need a lot of explanation. Bahamas, ask yourself, why are they lying to us? Why are they lying to us? And now, you can look at this act. The passenger transported is provided protection against refoulement or is provided access to asylum. In short, this is operational framework for measures at sea. ensure that the measures taken are compliant with human rights of migrants, the humanitarian obligations toward migrants, including the right of migrants to leave a country, the right to seek asylum, to seek international protection, and the right to pursue protection of non-refoulement. Refoulement. Okay? This act does reference asylum over and repeatedly. Referral of migrants with special protection needs. In performing functions under this part, the minister shall ensure that smuggled migrants seeking asylum for international protection under the convention, under what? The convention. So we have to read the convention relating to the status of refugees or international law. All right, so that's the convention or international law, are quickly referred to the appropriate authorities. So, in other words, you can't send them back. You have to quickly refer them to the appropriate authorities. You have to have authorities in place to deal with them. I thought they said this doesn't deal with asylum. And this says the minister has a responsibility. So, in performing functions under this part, the minister shall ensure that smuggled migrants seeking asylum. Oh, this isn't talking about asylum. This is not an asylum bill. They don't see any asylum anywhere in this bill. And remember, it must line up with the convention. We're going to get to the convention in a minute. That's where it gets dangerous. And he has a duty to make it quickly happen. The convention raises the status of refugees. We're going to get to that in a second. So this is how they've lied to you. Ladies and gentlemen, do you see this with your eyes? This bill is about asylum. Don't let them fool you. Okay? Now, so this is where the bill is talking about asylum all through and through. There's other things they have, like make sure they have identification, all right? Make sure they have status, etc. So when someone gets asylum, and they even have a competent authority in here. They call it competent national security authority because a lot of you are shell shocked with this word competent authority, but they also did a competent authority, and this competent authority can act just like human menace. And he can now willy nilly decide what he wants to do as it relates to these people and these asylum seekers. So, based on what the purpose of this act is and what it binds the minister and this act to do, this bill is about asylum. This is like, this is like the first year of law school that teaches you how a bill is put together. So again, application of this act is consistent with the principles of non-refoulement. So now, and it also referred you to the convention, so I won't go back to that. Now we have to go and look at the convention. So here we go. All right? The Convention and Protocol of Status of Refugees. I'm going to open that up for you right now. All right? Don't let them lie to you. Everything that Lincoln Baines says to you turns out to be the truth. I'm showing you the facts while they're just coming on there and telling you what the law says. I'm showing you and showing you how to research for yourself and not just listen to me. All right? So now we're going to go to the act that it referred you to and the not the act, the convention that it referred you to and that it is empowering. And as you can see, this is on the website, unhcr.org. All right, this is official UN website. All right, and it's the Convention and Protocol relating to the status of refugees. This is what it was referring to over and over, and it is enacting this law. How it works in international law is that when you sign on to a treaty, in order for that treaty to be valid, you have to sign it and you have to put a law in place in your country that empowers that treaty. Okay? And the law must point to it or outline it. And so that's how you do it. And so that makes it actual law in your country that you have to follow from now on. Okay? And so that's what they decided to do. And so let's look at it. This is the text of the 51 Convention relating to the status of refugees. So that's in 1951. They put 57. They made a mistake. I'll let them slip. But the actual one in act now, because it was updated, the 1967 Protocol related to the status of refugees. So that act is already flawed because they put the wrong protocol in there. All right. But since they don't want to listen, since we're malicious for giving them advice, we won't tell them that. But of course, they're watching right now. Ryan Pinton is sitting down right now, watching this with his people, cussing. Um, let's see. All right. So introduction to the notes. So I'm gonna fast forward to where the benefits that these people have is. All right. This is the final act, and this is what is international law right now. These are the persons who were signatory to it. All right. When it first came into play in July 25th of 1951, we're educating you, Bahamas. And so when this came into play, the Bahamas was not a country. So as you can see, we were not one of the countries that signed on to it. United States did, Israel, all of these countries listed here did, but the Bahamas in 1951 did not sign on to it. Okay. And so that's why you don't see us and Jamaica and all these countries. We were still under the United Kingdom for the most part, but the United Kingdom signed on to it. Okay. Um, Cuba and Iran had observers. And so let me go on to it. Um, I'm going to speed through to page 22, where it starts at, where it goes to Article 17. So we're going to speed through to that. All right, Article 17. Okay, again, pass it. Let's go back. And this is what the COI does that they don't do, but they tell you to believe them and not the COI. All right, so here we go. This is what they will be entitled to: gainful employment. So this is breaking down everything that they have rights to. And so there's other stuff: access to courts, right of association, all of these things are there. Artistic rights and industrial property, movable and immovable property. They have rights to all these things. Personal status. That means you have to give them documentation, et cetera, et cetera. Um, and so you have to make sure that you're in compliance with it. But I wanted to go from 17. You can go and read it for yourself. But I wanted to show you wage earning employment. You have the contracting states, which would be us, has to give them a right to be able to be employed, all right, in your country. I'm going to scroll through it. Self employment. You have to give them a right to be able to do whatever business they want to do in your country. Self employment. Liberal professions, all right? Liberal professions means that they have to be whatever whatever certifications they have, who hold diplomas recognized by the competent authorities of that state, the desires of proctoring a liberal profession, treatment as favorable as possible. They have to be treated as favorable as possible. All right? In your country and be allowed to carry on whatever they want. Welfare, rationing, where a ration system exists which applies to the population at large and regulates the general distribution. I want to say this because we come to rationing. I want to explain to you the real thing behind this law. Let me stop sharing for 1 second because I want you to understand this properly. All right. This law in 1951 was put into place. This is for understanding. Was put into place because of World War II. There were refugees suffering because of World War II, and they wanted these refugees to have certain rights because they were victims of World War II. All right? They were victims of that. And persons who were being smuggled into another country, they didn't want the victims, those persons being smuggled in, to be hurt, to be treated like criminals because they were refugees of World War II. Their cities were destroyed, their lives were destroyed, and they were just trying to move around in Europe from place to place, and trying or moving to other countries, whether it's the United States or anywhere, to get to have a better life. And it was because the whole world was at war. And that's the purpose of this, that this was put into place. They expanded it in 1967, and it covered more than just the cause of the war. But that was the reason that that this convention initially said that those persons should not be treated as criminals, but as victims. That was because of World War II. And if you read, you study, you will see that that was the purpose behind this act. All right. Now, trying to apply that to the situation in the Bahamas is where the problem comes in. People being smuggled at this time, it has nothing to do with World War II. They are not victims. They are persons trying to get financial gain, better their lives. That's what you say, better their lives. So they are paying someone so that they can move to another country for financial gain, so they can get jobs and send money back home. They are participating in this process. They are not victims in any way. And that's where the confusion comes in, where they're talking about victims. Because the original purpose of this convention was for victims of World War II. Okay? That's where the understanding and misunderstanding is. And instead of our lawmakers educating you on that, they want to deceive you because today they have a purpose that they want you to think that these persons are victims. And they want to twist the conversation about trafficking and smuggling, which is nothing to do with what this act was about. Those persons who are being smuggled from one country to the next were paid by the person being smuggled to go there. Many of the persons being smuggled during World War II, it was charity. It was people being aided. It was caravans being set up to move persons around. This is a different scenario today. They refuse to give you a proper education and they're lying to you. They're using this for their purpose today. So now, what this translates to today in our time is that if a person wants to go from, I'm just using the example, Haiti to the Bahamas, it's better to pay someone to carry you so that you can't be charged with anything. Do you see? If you jump on the boat yourself and go, you weren't smuggled. You did it on your own. So, like they said, the law still exists. So, because you weren't smuggled in, they can charge you. Do you see? But if you pay someone to bring you, you're home free. You can't be charged with being here, with landing here, or having false documents. Is this starting to make sense to you now? These people in these government positions pretend to be intelligent. And in many cases they are, but they're deceiving you because they know that most people won't sit down for 2 hours and listen to education on this. They know that most people want sound bites, quick videos. I cannot teach this kind of education in a quick sound bite, in a 30-second or 60-second video. It takes understanding and you seeing for yourself. And that's why we have to do this. And you have to spread the message that we have to fight this bill. They're lying to you on this bill. This bill is all about asylum. Okay? And so that's the understanding of how the bill is applied and what it really was about. Okay? And you can easily search that up, the purpose of the convention, or whatever you need to on your own. Okay? And so we'll go back to the document. And so they're entitled to rationing, all right? Because, during war times, they used to ration, they used to give out rations, etc. Housing, they're entitled to housing, all right? They're entitled to housing. This is the convention, the law pointed to, all right? They're entitled to housing. It doesn't say anything but temporary. The act doesn't say anything about temporary. The politicians are trying to deceive you by saying, "Oh, that's just going to be temporary." Put it in the act. It's not in the act. There's no intention for that to be temporary. If it was, it would have been in the act. The law must state what the law is. So if you're going to give temporary housing, say temporary. And then say how long. But that's not the purpose of this. They want to give them entitlement. Let's keep going. Public education. They're going to be entitled to public education. All right. Article 23. Public relief. You see it? So, public relief. The contrast cases will accord refugees lawfully staying in their territory the same treatment with response to public relief and assistance as accorded to their nationals. So they will be entitled to every assistance that nationals are accorded. All right? Every assistance. This is what our act is going to be doing. Remember, it has to be in line with this convention. Are you watching, Bahamas? So everything you entitled to, they will be entitled to. Labor legislation and Social Security. Everything in NIB, Social Security, holiday, and all this stuff, everything they'll be entitled to. See, maternity, sickness, disability, old age, debt, unemployment, everything that you entitled to, they'll be entitled to. All right. So let's keep going. Administrative measures. All right, they have to assist these persons with getting their documents and everything else. They have to travel documents. You got to give them travel documents so they can start moving around the country. So guess what? They can come here, claim asylum, get travel documents, and then jump on the plane and go to America, and then stay, or be there legally, claim asylum, whatever. They could use you as a transit state because this convention and our law says that they have to be provided with documents and freedom of movements. They have to be allowed to move freely. All right. Identity papers. The contracting state shall issue identity papers to any refugee in their territory who does not possess a valid travel document. We have to give it to them. Travel documents. The contracting state shall issue to refugees lawfully. Remember, he said it has to be in compliance. Remember, Latre was talking. He said it has to be in compliance with international law. This is what they're talking about. The contracting state shall issue to refugees lawfully staying in their territory travel documents for the purpose of travel outside their territory. So you have to give them travel documents so they can travel outside the territory, unless compelling reasons of national security or public order otherwise require, and the provisions of the schedule of this convention shall apply with respect to such documents. All right? And it gives special sympathetic consideration, et cetera, et cetera. And so this puts pressure on the government to do that. All right, fiscal charges. You can't charge them no bunch of money for this stuff either. That's what it says. Transfer of assets. They should be allowed to transfer their assets. All right. Refugees unlawfully in the country. Refugees unlawfully in the country of refugee. Um, Contracting states shall not impose penalties on account of their illegal entry. See what they were doing? Lining it up with this. Contracting states shall not impose penalty on account of their illegal entry or presence on refugees who, coming directly from a territory where their life or freedom was threatened in the sense of Article 1, enter or are present in their territory. Remember, that's how they line it up. If they enter, they have immunity. If they're present, they have immunity without authorization, provided they present themselves without delay to the authorities and show good cause for their illegal entry or presence. They are lining up that law with this. Do you see this with your own eyes, Bahamas? So this have nothing to do with victims. It's just that if you read the first part of this, it says that refugees are victims, but that is from a sense of the 1951 and the post World War II understanding. Okay? This has nothing to do with trafficking or any of that stuff. This has to do with witness or if in case you need them to be a witness. None of that stuff that they're saying to you is true. This is them putting this into action. Now, this has been around from 1951 and 1967. None of our governments saw the need to do this, but this government This one right here and this opposition sees the need to put this in place. How much days later, you hear anything from the FNM? No. They see the need to put this in place. This is why that particular number 11 is in there. It has nothing to do with anything they're saying. Let me read this again. The contracting states, which will be the government, shall not impose penalties on account of their illegal entry or presence on refugees who coming directly from a territory where their life or freedoms was threatened in the sense of Article 1, meaning in this one, enter or are present in their territory without authorization, provided they present themselves without delay. That means go straight to authorities and you straight. Even if you land and you didn't get catch, you just go to the authorities and say, hey, I just reached and I'm claiming asylum. Haiti is having a rough time right now. I can't go back there because my life will be threatened. Don't let them fool you. It's nothing to do with victims, witnesses, none of that. They are trying to make it line up. The contracting state shall not apply to the movements of such refugees. Restrictions other than those which are necessary for such restrictions shall only be applied until their status in the country is regularized or they obtain admission into another country. So in other words, you can't even restrict them. In other words, you can't lock them up. You can't put them in a detention center. And if they want to go to another country, you have to give them the time and you have to give them the necessary facilities to do so. Expulsion. The contraction state shall not expel a refugee lawfully in their territory, save on the grounds of national security or public order. The expulsion of such a refugee shall be only in pursuance of a decision reached in accordance with due process. You have to get them to court and say that this person threatens this country, they're terrorists, they want to do such and such. That's the only way. And it must be compelling reasons. All right? And then you have to allow them reasonable time to seek admission into another country. All right? Prohibition of expulsion and return. You see what this says? Non-refoulement. That's how you pronounce it. Non-refoulement. 1. No contracting state, meaning the Bahamas, or anywhere where refugees go in. No contracting state. That means contracting state means who is signed under this convention, which we now are. No contracting state shall expel or return a refouler, a refugee in any manner whatsoever to the frontiers or territory where his life or freedom would be threatened on account of his race, religion, nationality, membership of a particular social group, or political opinion. The benefit of the present provision may not, however, be claimed by a refugee whom there are reasonable grounds for regarding as a danger to the security of the country in which he is, or who, having been convicted by a final judgment of a particular serious crime, constitutes a danger to the criminality of the country. All right? Naturalization, this is 34. The, the contracting states shall, as far as possible, facilitate the assimilation and naturalization of refugees. So, what they're telling you is, oh, we didn't put it in the act. It doesn't say anything about naturalization in the act, but it talks about non refoulement, which means you can't carry them back. And obviously, if you can't send them back because it's conditions of their country, you have to let them stay in your country and you have to let them assimilate. And it talks about naturalization. All right? This is the convention that they are speaking to. The contracting state shall, as far as possible, facilitate the assimilation and naturalization of refugees. They shall, in particular, make every effort to expedite naturalization proceedings and to reduce, as far as possible, the charges and costs of such proceedings. You have to reduce it for them. So the naturalization won't be the same as other people trying to be naturalized. It could be cheap for them. But it says it right here in the convention. This is the international law that they're talking about, and this is the act that was being by quoted by our act and being quoted by Latre Raming. Okay, but they won't tell you details. That's what they fail to do. They're playing with words. All right, I'm trying to go to section one, the preamble. General provisions. I'm just scrolling this so you can see it and read it for yourself later. And so it's showing you where this comes from and why the purpose. And they're talking about the events in Europe before January 1st, 1951, where this refugee thing came from. They're talking about what a refugee is. Um, and so you can see that this has a different understanding, even though it extends into today's date. And while it may still be relevant in Europe and the from a colonized state, it's not relevant for our situation, and that we should not be applying this to our situation because we could be in problems. All right. I'm just scrolling through it so you can see it. All right. Obligations. All right. So, all right. So I'll leave that right there. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is how you understand. Never listen to politicians. All right? They're lying to you. I heard one former politician on the radio before I went live, talking about, trying to make it seem like we're trying to deceive people and that kind of stuff. No, we're trying to know for ourselves because we have to live in this country. Y'all don't care about living in this country, but we care about living in this country. We care about our people who are going to have to feel the effects. We can't take care of the hospital we have. We can barely build this new hospital. And now you're going to bring new people that we have to take care of, that we have to house and do everything else for. If you go and read that convention, you're going to see what they're referring to. As I continue, I'm going to open the phone lines for persons who have questions. I'm going to open up myself to detractors. Anyone who feels that they don't agree with what I have to say, Ryan Pinder, you can also call me. So can you, Wayne Monroe. You can call me. The Trey Ramming, if you don't understand what they made you read while sweating and panicking, you can call me also, and I can help you understand. Call me live in front of everyone. And so if I am wrong about anything that I'm saying right now, if you feel that we're trying to deceive the people, call and show me that. I didn't do what they did, what Sabas had those persons on Beyond the Headlines do, just tell you what the law says and what it doesn't says. I showed it to you. And you could see with your own eyes. I showed you where to go and search. Now, call in and tell me what you think. Now, they're planning to bring this bill back to you. They're planning to bring this bill to the House of Assembly. Um, they said probably on Monday. Let me go straight to the phone line. Sorry, I had it on Do Not Disturb. Sorry about that. You can call regular line, or you can call on WhatsApp call. 803-5995 is the number. 803-5995 is the number. So take this time to call in and speak your piece. Ask your question. All right? Go ahead, call your live.
Hi, Mr. Bain. I am so happy you reinforced that UNHR information because from must be 5-10 years ago they was talking about that they are stateless.
Yeah.
And I actually did a whole talk on that and exactly what you said about how the Second World War, that was needed for those people because they lost their whole country.
Yes.
Now here we have right now, I'm so glad you reinforced that information. Them people ain't lose their country.
No.
Now they put a paste and what you call it, paste and tape it and try to jam this down our throat and lie to the Bahamian people and say, oh, this is not an asylum. But they basically did the very thing when they jam and quickly move on the natural resources and the so-and-so man who's in charge of our country now to think he's the big dog of the family of the Bahamas and the Papa and the Dada and whatever. He think he's calling people because he think he got his hand on those natural resources. He put himself in that position. And now he got his people that he claimed is his people. And he think we're going to sit back and allow them to jam this down their throat. They better think again. I'm glad you put a light on it because it's way deeper.
Yes, it is.
And I'm glad you're doing what you're doing.
All right.
Okay, because we ain't no dummies out here. Just
Yeah.
so they know that.
All right. Thanks for your call. Call you live. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Bahamas.
Good afternoon.
Bahamas. I'm a little shocked at everything I've heard Mr. President Bain say. I'm shocked at everything. Listen carefully, Bahamas, to these figures. There is 1.4 billion people in China, but yet they own 85% of the liquor stores in Nassau, in my own opinion. There is 117 million people in the Philippines.
Yep.
But yet, they have 99.9% of the jobs in all the gated communities in the Bahamas. In Haiti, there's roughly 15 million people in Haiti. But they have 99.9% of all the landscaping jobs in all of the gated communities. How is that possible? Now, they want to pass this bill, Bahamas. Freeport has one of the largest container ports in the world. That's very easy for refugees to come, land right there at the container port, Bahamas, and their roots in the Bahamas for Bahamians. And another thing, how are they going to pay for all these accommodations? Are they going to put refugees in that hotel that they can't sell in Freeport? Or what are they going to do? Are they going to use the carbon credit money to pay for all of this? No. And far as I'm concerned, I think, Mr. Bain, you see the carbon credit money is in a different country, Mr. Bain, not even in the Bahamas.
Yep.
And so, Bahamas, listen carefully. That means they're going to have to go up on your property tax to pay for all of this. Your apartments, your duplex, your triplex, you're going to have to increase the rent just to pay those property taxes to take care of the migrants.
Yeah.
And that nice, lovely home you have, you want to leave for your kids if something happened to you. What's exempted right now? They're going to have to probably take that from being exempt and charge property tax on that to pay for all of these things they want to do, Bahamas. Bahamas, please repeat those words to your friends and family. I find the best way to get downtown Bahamas, pay $1.50 and get your bus downtown. It drops you right there. And then when you want to leave downtown, pay $1.50 and you leave downtown. You don't have to worry about parking or anything. And then you can hail all of your friends, Bahamas,
All right.
downtown.
All right, we got to go.
Thank you, Mr.
All right, thank you too,
Thank
my
you.
brother.
Right.
All right. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to share the screen again one more time to show you the purpose where this law came from that our law is using now. in a different scenario. I wanted you I want you to see this with your own eyes. Don't believe me, see it. All right. I'm going back to the convention. Um, going back to the convention. See people trying to call in. Hold the line, caller. You're next. So just hold the line one sec. And this is the beginning of the article, introductory note by the Office of the United Nations Commissioner of Refugees. Um, that's what this website is, UNHCR. Now it says that is grounded. Well, I'm going to skip to the part where we need to read. You can go and read it yourself. It says the convention entered into force on 22nd April 1954, and it has been subject to only one amendment in the form of a 1967 protocol, which removed the geographic and temporal limits of the 1951 convention. The original one was about Europe and what was going on in Europe because of the war. But because persons had to move to all kinds of different countries and not just in Europe, because a lot of the European countries were war torn, so people moving between them, it didn't help. So now people wanted to move to South America, the United States, and other places. So they had to remove the geographical and other restrictions. Persons could move elsewhere. And that's how this spread in 1967. I'll continue reading, which removed the geographical and temporal limits of the 1951 convention. The 1951 convention, as a post Second World War instrument, all right, was originally limited in scope to persons fleeing events occurring before January 1st, 1951, within Europe. All right. The 670 Protocol removed these limitations and thus gave the convention universal coverage. It has since been supplemented by refugee and subsidy protections. So that was the original purpose of this. That is why the laws was removed from treating these persons as illegal immigrants because they were refugees. Do you understand why that law was in place? Because these persons were victims of World War, and you didn't, and the immigration laws would have arrested them for legal entry. And so you wanted to put some things in place for them. Now, your Davis administration is using this same law in order to allow these persons in bad situations in Haiti or wherever they're coming from to come into our country willy-nilly and will not be treated as criminals as our law says. Let's go to phone lines. Good afternoon, ladies. Good afternoon. You're live.
Mr. Ben, good day. How you doing, man?
Awesome, man.
God is the greatest. Listen, man. Listen, Bahamas. The ambassador of America is in the country now. He's here now. It's now time for us to get locked up with our president. I'm calling all men. I'm calling all men. I'm sick and tired of the ladies coming up to the plate and standing up. I'm calling all men. Mr. Bean needs to get arrested with company. We need to go in that cell and fill the cell out until they can't do nothing with us. This one for our children and our children. My children should not have to be fighting competition in their own country. It shows that the MPs in Parliament, they are balsless. The opposition is balsless. If Mr. Bean is selling a dream, why are you all rushing this bill? Why are you all not educating us like Mr. Bean is educating us and showing us other than telling us? See, you know what our problem is? Ignorance. They know we ain't gonna read. Plenty of them can't read. Patrice Dodson, what happened? Why you calling the show? Huh? You can't comprehend what Mr. Bean is saying? Huh? Or you can't read when he's showing you for yourself. He reading. You could call the show because he's reading and showing you. Maybe so ignorant as people. We don't want better for ourselves. But Mr. Bean, we have to get locked up with you this time. Trust me. Have a good day.
Thank you, man. And I fully plan on getting locked up in this if I have to, because this is going to transform our nation as we know it. All right? And I'm calling on our men to stand with us. We're going to have to stand up and fight. We're going to have nonviolent resistance. And we have to transform it to something even more serious later if they decide to continue to go through with this. Every member of our government who votes for this should be removed immediately if they go forward with this. I'm going to go back to the phone lines. Call your life.
Well, good afternoon, Lincoln. I had to call. A lot of things I don't understand and a lot of people. And if it wasn't for our MP, Mr. Lewis, yourself, we would have never seen this. And that's very sad. You know, if somebody comes here on a plane from a country that has turmoil or maybe such a devalued dollar they can't live back home off of the money they can make, can they not come to the airport here and say, I want amnesty?
Yeah, they can land. They can pay for a visa now in Haiti, like they've been doing, paying for those visas under the table. Land here, and then as soon as they land, they can now say they're not a smuggled person, but they can land and say, "I want asylum."
So this allows
And
for
hold on, they will be entitled to the asylum because of the conditions in Haiti. So now they do it on a case by case basis.
correct.
But of course, once this law is in place, it won't be case by case. It'll be entitlement. That's the purpose of this law. That's why anytime you saw the media covering this, right? Eyewitness news, you watch our news, you watch the MPs talking, Attorney General, all of them avoided the question of asylum. And watch the news media. Even though I spent all this time to do this today, none of them are going to cover this, and none of them is going to touch asylum. And you're going to see the talk shows talk about this, but none of them is going to invite me on because they don't want the truth.
And today, live from OPM, I asked the question, could they go into the specific details on the asylum? And they didn't even answer the people who asked questions on the Facebook Live. Now, my question is there a moratorium? Is there a limit? Like the U.S. says you can come there and apply for visa, but they accept only whatever it is, 1 million or 20 million a year. Was there any limit on this, or you can have 1 million people come?
They put no limit, no time limits, no amount, no quantification of how many people, quantification, nothing. They just want to throw this in there so they can now start making money. And Graham, I want to say this to you. This isn't just about the Haitians. That's not why they're doing this. Let me tell you the real reason behind why this government is doing this. This is about the Chinese. The big money is in the smuggling of the Chinese. And I want to say this to our new ambassador from the United States of America. This new law is about the Chinese. Do your investigation. Now the Chinese can be smuggled in a container, et cetera, and they can claim asylum. They could say if they go back to China, they're going to be abused. They could say that China is a communist country. They could say that we're Christians and Christians aren't allowed. I won't have a church and they can't build a church. I'll be persecuted. They can say anything, and they would automatically be given asylum. They would then get documents for being here and the travel documents, and those documents would allow them to legally travel to the United States of America.
And to vote here, of course, yes?
Eventually, yes, because once they get those documents, they have to, according to the convention, they have to expedite their naturalization. You saw it in writing, right?
Yes, of course, and I'm trying to get to the point that eventually, and we don't know the time frame, they could be sitting in the House of Assembly with Bahamian citizenship.
Yes, majority rules.
And if in a country of 1.5 billion, it's easy to send 200,000 people here. Remember, 6,000 came to build a hotel. All those 6,000 had to say was, "It's tough back home."
Yeah. So
this is a slippery slope to basically extinguishing the country.
Yes.
Wow.
And so
Anyway,
this is as much about the Chinese. Thank you, man. This
Yep.
is as much about the Chinese as it is about the Haitian immigrants. All right? The Chinese is where the big money is, Bahamas. Y'all wake up. Remember, we exposed the Chinese in the Hilton Hotel, and what Keith Bell did call and told them, the immigration officers, to let them go. This has been happening. A whole Chinese drug boat came here with drugs on it, and they just let that boat go. That boat should have been seized. They let everyone go, saying they can't prove who the drugs belong to. Hey, but I know when they lock up people, that's what I was taught. If they lock up a mail boat and drugs on it, everyone lock up. If they pull over a car and drugs is in it, everyone who's in the car lock up. If they come to your house and drugs in the house, you, Grammy, everyone lock up. This is about the Chinese. And so to my American friends, y'all better buckle up your seatbelt and get ready for a rough ride. Because if this PLP administration puts this law into place, you're in trouble. And I don't want you to think that only the PLP is friendly to the Chinese. It was the FNM that brought Bahama here. Sorry, it's the FNM that got the loan. It's our prime minister who jumped on the plane and got the loan for Sarkism from the Chinese. And the Chinese worked along with our government and paid off government officials to oust the Sarkism. The FNM and the PLP work with the Chinese. I'm talking to our new ambassador because I know you're watching. Prepare yourselves for a rough ride if the PLP or the FNM gets in power. When it comes to immigration, don't let the FNM fool y'all and think that they care about immigration. They don't. They started this. The PLP finished it and found ways to make big money from it. Y'all better wake up. 5995 is the number. I just want to make sure we've been going for an hour and 41 minutes. I want to make sure that everyone understands this. If there are any detractors, this is your time to call in or say what you have to say. Let me go to the comments now and see if there's any persons who made comments who don't understand something. But 803-5995 is the number. 803-5995. So someone says China with that kind of power on the U.S. border. As long as the PLP and FNM, remember the FNM took money from the Chinese to build a stadium. They built the highway from the airport. They were in bed with them. That's how they were friendly enough to go and get the money for Sarkis to build the Bahama. And they didn't build that to look like any Bahamian place. Look at Bahama Good. Look at the Chinese lion in the front of it. That whole place. I practically grew up going back and forth to China and helping people to go there to do business. That hotel looks like a hotel in China. That's how they always look. If you've been going to China, you're going to feel like you're in China when you see that hotel. That was always, I believe that it was always the intention to remove sake. But in this country, you can do anything you want to do, just pay off the government. Okay, let's go to the phone lines. Good afternoon, you're live.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Bain. Good afternoon, Bahamas. Mr. Bain, how does this work? When the Bahamas government would give a license to foreign nationals to open a business, give them a business license, and they turn around and hire other migrants, other foreign migrants, and not Bahamians. This is what we see here in the Bahamas with the Chinese only hiring Haitian nationals. Is this right or is this wrong?
It's not right, but it's what's happening now, and it's going to happen at an accelerated rate. So now that these people can come here, claim asylum, and open business, now they can have their friends and other persons come in or their workers come in, do the same thing, and then work for them.
Wow.
And you can't deny them.
It is so sad. It's happening right before our eyes. And what I've noticed and recognized, even in that bill that they want to pass, it is asylum
The word asylum is right in there, right in our faces. It's a shame. And I think it's treasonous for them to even consider having that debated in our parliament.
Yeah,
Good
it is.
evening, Mr.
Thanks
Bain.
for your
Thank you
call.
for taking.
All right.
Okay.
Good evening, caller. You're live.
Good evening, Mr. Bain. How you doing?
Yes, I'm good.
Good. Great job with explaining everything today. But I didn't think I heard the part where you mentioned in section 37 that gives the minister certain rights to kind of control this bill and make changes as he wishes. Could you talk a little bit about that? I think it's in section 37.
Yes, it is. All right. So,
Thank you.
yes, thank you. I appreciate that. So, what happens is the minister is also given the right to make any decisions he wants to make as to this. He can make any regulations. It doesn't have to go back to the House of Assembly to make the regulations or amendments. The minister has the power to make any decision he wants willy nilly in this act. It says it in the act that the caller is right. I was trying to speed through and get the pertinent stuff just for education purpose and not give you too much that they start confusing it. But the minister will have all power to make whatever decision he wants as it relates to this. They put the power in his hands. All right. And the minister is not the minister of immigration. That minister would be the minister of national security. All right. Go ahead, call you live.
Great job, sir.
Thank you.
Two quick points. One is I notice a lot of people now, not only are their eyebrows raised, they are ready for action. But let me just say, action means get in your constituency, support your COI candidate. You gotta work the ground. You gotta make calls. You gotta be at those polls to work. This is what it's going to take to win the actual election. And that's what it's going to boil down to perhaps in May. So I just wanted to make that clarity on call. And you got to register. You got to register, Bahamas.
Yes.
And my second point, Mr. Bain, is being in the semi into the tourism industry. This is already affecting the tourism industry. And I'm wondering if we're paying attention to that.
I didn't hear the first part you said. Say it again.
Oh, this is affecting the tourism industry already.
Yes.
Now, can you imagine if that were to occur, with this influx, and they don't diversify the economy at the same time, which they won't. They haven't done it in 15 years or 20 years or whatever. That's just something to think about. This is going to be a tragedy, but it could be a redemption if everybody comes together, put politics aside, register, vote, and work in your constituency. That's my call today.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
You're welcome.
All right. So, Bahamas, we are constantly vilified for educating you, for telling you the truth while the politicians lie to you. We are outside taking the bullets, taking the attacks. After this, I'm going to be attacked viciously all over social media, as they always do, and in the real world. That's what they do. We are constantly vilified for helping you and for educating you, for letting you know exactly what's going on. They started out immediately because we told you about this bill. They immediately saying that we should be condemned. That's the Attorney General saying that we should be condemned. What does he mean? Condemned in what way? Condemned to prison? Condemned verbally? Condemned? What does he mean by that? Bahamas, if you sit down and let this bill be passed in its current state, you're in trouble. Remember, I warned you, we didn't listen to Loftus Roker, and now we're here. And we're here where there's a government, you can see it happening right before your eyes, and you're ignoring it because you just love your party or you just don't like me. The fact of the matter is, they don't show the COI when we're here educating you. They don't show us when we're doing the things that we do. They only show us on the media when we're out having a protest and we have to speak loudly and we have to to speak the way we do. And so somehow people feel that we are a rowdy bunch and that I'm just a rowdy person. I'm a very educated person. who has sat with world leaders around the world, who's been on the top radio stations and TV stations in around the world. I've sat on Larry King Live. I've sat on Fox stations, Geraldo. I've been on the Oprah Winfrey Show. But they say for some reason I can't represent, or they don't think I can represent this country internationally. I've dined with Queen Elizabeth. I have. I've been called to speak to universities around the world and institutions around the world. I've been called to educate people with PhDs. While we may, Lynn did, and Milo Butler did, and Randall Fox did, have to sometimes speak loudly to get your attention so you could focus on things like this, I want to assure you that we are more than qualified to represent this nation. But in fact, those people that you think are qualified, are they really? Did you hear what Wayne Monroe said? He's qualified. How could a qualified person say that the Bahamas government won't be able to arrest someone caught smuggling, taking someone out of the Bahamas? That's the qualifications you want? The man who says that a sentence of 4 years is too harsh for someone who raped a little girl? That's the qualifications you want? Someone who said, Wayne Monroe, who said that they should beat and flog illegal immigrants. Ryan Pinder, I don't think he's ever represented in a court in his life. He practiced in the US. Tax law. And maybe why there's so much, that's why there's so much error in this document. Or maybe that's intentional. He should be condemned for putting this document to the Bahamian people. Well, to our house, not to us, because they didn't give it to us. They just put it on the website and said nothing about it. And they want to throw it down our throats. The Bahamians should have risen up when Perry Christie went against our referendum, but we didn't. They knew we wouldn't. They are banking on the fact that you are going to do nothing when they put this law in place. That's what they're banking on. They know that Bahamians are not like people in other countries, like in France, when they tried to change a labor law so the persons could be fired without cause. The young people hit the streets and they were ready to burn the whole country down. And the government had to go back on it. There's a time for everything. If they open the floodgates by putting this law in place, that's a time to act. And we will act. And they will not like it. Whatever has to happen in the near future, ladies and gentlemen, remember that we're doing it for love of country. The things we are doing are not expedient, are not politically expedient. It's not politically expedient to go out there and fight all the time when the government is trying to do their darkness. It makes you look rebellious. It's not politically expedient to speak out against the shanty towns and against illegal immigration. That's not politically expedient. Someone say you're doing it for politics. If we were doing it for politics, we would be pandering to the legal immigrants. That's not politically expedient. I have to take a pause here. I just happened to glance at my screen, and on social media, the Tribune Network is issuing a notice. The notice says, the Tribune, let me screenshot it in case they try to remove it. The Tribune has observed a continuing pattern of unauthorized reproduction and dissemination of its copyrighted material by various websites and social media accounts. This conduct constitutes copyright infringement and will no longer be tolerated. The Tribune will be initiating legal procedures against infringers without further notice. Our legal counsel is actively monitoring such violations. Let me educate you, Tribune. You use social media to spread your stories. I want you to read the terms and conditions and the policies of Facebook, Instagram, or wherever you are posting your news stories. You're posting your news stories there because no one is buying your papers and everyone is on social media. But whenever you post something on social media, you are agreeing that you are giving up your rights to it. I have to educate the news media about copyright on social media. When you put a picture on social media, you are giving up your rights to it. So if you put your news story there, you are saying that it could be shared. Do you see what it's called? Social media. You are putting it there to be shared. So, to the Tribune, if you don't want your news story shared, don't put it on social media where the purpose is for it to be networked and shared. Because the terms says that you give up your copyrights by putting it there. Jesus. Ladies and gentlemen, anything that the Tribune, call, I'm coming to you in a sec, anything that the Tribune or the Guardian or any of them put on social media is free game. Share it as much as you like. The Tribune is the F&M's paper to spread their propaganda, and so I personally don't buy it. And so all of these stations have their slant, and so I don't pay for their media. I look at whatever they have on social media. Continue to spread whatever they put on social media. All right? It is fair game. And that way, the rest of us won't have to pay for it. Thank you. Caller, you live.
How you doing, sir? Good all due respect. Thanks for that information. Much appreciate. This stretch is calling up and we're happy. I realize this month is going to be too busy to be helping you come
You're
up
breaking
here.
up, and I wish it could be clearer.
Would it be better for us to reorganize coming over in January?
Hold on, I'm live, so I don't think you want to talk your plans live on air.
Okay, I'll call you tomorrow sometime.
All right.
Right.
All right, that's someone who's calling want me to fight a situation for them. There's a lot of situations that persons want me to fight. I don't charge anyone for what I've been doing for all these years. But it's getting to the point now where we have to focus on the general election. And a lot of people want us to deal with their personal little fights. But what I'm noticing with all these calls I'm getting to fight over here and travel to this island and do this and do that, all of your problems have one thing in common, the PLP and F&M, which is one thing. One thing in common. And so I think it's time for us to just remove the PLP and F&M and problem will be solved. All right? So for all of you, anyone who sees that post in the Tribune, you'll go on there and tell them that social media is fair game. So whatever they post is done. And we ain't buying their papers. So we're not, I'm not buying a paper to help promote the F&M's agenda. I'm not going to do that. All right. Now, also, the yearly carnival is coming up. I want to say this to all of you. The carnival, from its inception, has an agreement with the PLP. It is a fundraising tool of the PLP. The carnival is not independent people just traveling to the Bahamas to do business. It is a fundraiser by the PLP. And so if you want to fund the PLP, and their election campaign and fund them doing what they're doing, then you go to the Holiday Carnival, which is now on Clifford Park. If you don't want to fund the PLP, stay away from it. All right? You saw during the pandemic there was a little hiccup where they got permission and they didn't get permission, and you saw where he said it that 50% of all of their profits go to the PLP, and that's why they were angry. Like, why y'all ain't getting us straight when this money going to y'all? But I knew that because it may have been my first job when I was in high school. Definitely one of them. I only had side jobs. The only real job I had was the police force. All right, only full time job. But I did little stuff, the little summer jobs that they would do. Uh, the government would do, where you'd work at Botanical Gardens, Ministry of Finance, etc. I've done those things, and I worked at the carnival. I worked at the carnival in 1992. I was probably in ninth grade, I think. But I worked at the carnival in 1992, and that was the year that Hubert Ingram won. He won that August 1992, and that year he decided that he would not let the carnival uh, come to the sports center. Remember, it used to always be to the sports center, and he decided you can't come because why? You're a tool, a fundraising tool for the PLP. Remember that? And so that's the year they had the carnival by remember where Rubus is on Wolf Road and Camp Road? And so he couldn't stop them from coming, but he tell him you can't go to no government area. So just like the PLP government did with us, where we couldn't use any parks during the by-election, we had to get a private area to have our rallies and etc. Well, that's what Ingram did to the PLP, because the PLP and their carnival in 1992, and that's when they was forced to have it there. And then the next year, Ingram said, "Well, if you all want to have it in the Sports Center again, F&M got to get a piece of that too." And then it was PLP and F&M benefiting while Ingram was there. But when the F&M is out of power, it's only PLP. All right. So I just want to put that to your attention. Um, I do not go to the holiday carnival. In 1992, I worked there. I worked there a couple years back to back until I joined the police force. Um, and I saw all of these PLP former ministers and ministers there, like they were running things. Like I never noticed that all those years of going there. I was like, these people right here behind the scene. But when I worked there, I saw them. It's like, wow, this is a PLP thing. That's in 1992. I was a kid. And I saw these people. I was like, hold on. When I was coming here before, I would only see, the white people behind the stalls and that kind of stuff. But I never noticed the behind the scenes, these PLP operatives. And from then to now, I don't give the PLP my money. So, ladies and gentlemen, I know you need somewhere for your children to go. I'm just letting you know when you make that decision, you are funding the PLP. So that choice is yours. I'm not going to call for an outright boycott, but I am not funding the PLP. I'm not buying no cotton candy. I'm not buying no pizza that tastes like the plate. I'm not doing anything with them because half of all proceeds in the over and under goes to the PLP. Remember this. The PLP made gambling illegal in the country. And then they put a caveat in that law that the only place you could gamble was the holiday carnival. They put that in there. Why? Because the holiday carnival was theirs. So they took away gambling. Gambling was legal under the UBP. Focus now. Gambling was legal. There was a casino called the Bahamian Club that Bahamians could actually go to and gamble. Yeah, and there was the Hobby Horse Racetrack. Gambling was legal under the UBP. Hinlin and them made gambling illegal. Okay? But only people who could do gambling during that 1 month or 2 month period was the holiday carnival because they got 50% of the profits to fund the PLP. The rest of you lock up for gambling. There's so much more to talk about with that. But ladies and gentlemen, just wanted to inform you. So now that you're informed about this new bill, we're going to have to stand up. We have to. We have a duty to our children. Our children can't fight this battle that's coming. They can't. All right? Don't listen to Wayne Monroe and them. Their lies and panicking shows that they know something wrong. They said today they're gonna go clarify some stuff. There's nothing to clarify. We've done that already, Mr. AG. This is an asylum bill. And I want you all to keep calling it that. It's an asylum bill. Nothing else. And this is to facilitate those illegals from the South coming here, and more so the Chinese illegal immigrants. And only the COI is going to do something about this because both the FNM and the PLP are in bed with the Chinese. All right? Listen, it's Thursday now. Nothing from the FNM. Nothing. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me. This has been 2 hours. There are a lot of people who don't have 2 hours to sit down and watch this. Y'all can clip this and share it out. Put it on TikTok. Share it to your friends and family. Give them the real information, the education. You got to get this message out there. All right? There's only so much work I can do. There's only so much work we can do. You go and spread the message. Let them know that it's time to get locked up. It's time to shut this country down. If they are going to let these people come in and provide food, shelter, and all this kind of stuff for them, they're lying to you. Okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, God bless you. I love you. It's time to stand up. See you next time. See you on Sunday, right here. Join us at our headquarters. We're going to be releasing some candidates. Join us on Sunday, right here, where the education continues, and we release 2 more candidates to you.